From the highs of real estate success to losing everything and hitting rock bottom, we're going to be talking about digging deep and really getting into the grit of what it takes to not only be successful and start over. On today's episode, we got Peter Boutros and our good friend Ben Lang. Hello, Ben. How are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. Sunday morning, I'm ready to rock. Let's get some. I want to really provide some value to everyone who's going to be listening, and so I'm ready to rock. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you, ever since I've met you, Ben, you've been providing value. You've been such a huge part in my success and millions of agents across the country with what you do, your story, just your intricate attention to detail, and how you just guide people throughout the process, man. I just want to, first of all, thank you. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for showing us the way of, some of your tools. And I don't know, I was telling Peter before the podcast, you're like a high DC, I think, because you will get that D, but you will get granular and into stuff. But can you tell us a little bit about your story, Ben, and how you became the man you are today?
Yeah, I definitely will. First, how'd you get a copy of my disc profile? Send it to you.
Go on, man. And I tell you, DC is very dangerous.
Yeah. Also tough to be married to. He talked to my wife. You don't want to be married to a high DC. But anyway, yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for having me on, man. I admire you as well, Sharif. Man, I follow your journey. You're doing big things in life, and Peter too, man. Peter, like your content is fire, man. I'm copying or trying to copy some of the things that you're doing for content. But yeah, man, my story. I'll try and shorten it up and give you the short version. But man, I was a real estate investor back in 2003, and 2003 to 2005. I was flipping houses. I was buying rental properties, and then I started selling in 2005. And shortly thereafter, the market crashed, as we all know. Filed bankruptcy. At that point, I had 16 rental properties. They decreased in value by about 60 or 70. And that was my first kind of like, achieve the success and then fall back down and get knocked down. And then I'm in the new career in real estate, and I'm jazzed in 05 and 06. But once 07 hits, I'm like, uh-oh. Like all the realtors that I was looking at and admiring at the beginning of my career were going to Art Van to sell furniture, or going down to the Volkswagen dealership to go sell cars. So, from a mindset perspective, man, I was like, man, I was in my young 20s, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, shoot, like if they're bailing, how am I going to make this work? So, I stuck in. I did, again, bankruptcy, lost my house, lost all my investment property, a little over $2 million in investment property. And then I'm struggling. I'm trying to plug away. And I'm in the car one day and I hear a radio ad for a short sale. It's a realtor. And he's like, if you're facing a short sale situation, I got you covered. And then I started digging in and I'm like, listen, he's the only guy that's on the radio. And back then, this is before Spotify and Apple Music. Like, people were actually listening to the radio, right? So I said to myself, there could be a Pepsi to his Coke, or there needs to be a Pepsi to his Coke. He's got the monopoly. So at that point, I'm like, back then I'm with Keller Williams, and Noli was crushing the game with short sales. So I bought the Noli's, if you remember Noli from KW back in the day, bought his training course, and I'm going to get my CDPE certification, my SFR certification. Short sales and foreclosure resource and certified distressed property expert. And I'm talking to attorneys and I'm like, okay, I need to like become the short sale expert. And I only have like 60 days to do it before I throw my last dollar at radio ads. So I took a leap of faith, man. And I literally did. I spent my last dollar. I'm like, radio's like, let's start with 10 grand a month. And I'm like, okay, this is the 10 grand I got. You can have it. Well, let's see what goes. Let's see how it goes. But luckily, it started crushing, man. Like with just a ton of inbound calls. I started my own short sale processing company at that point in time. Those were some of my best years. I was closing between 100 to 150 units a year, and being able to really help people in a significant way back then. People were really hurting and struggling in 08, 9, 10. So I started my first team in 2011.
Mhm.
And that was kind of before teams were even a thing. But I was like, okay, I really need help. I'm pushing like a million listings out there with all the short sale listings, and I need a couple buyers agents to handle the overflow. So grew that. And then by the time 2014 came, I opened my own independent brokerage and started to build that, and was building the team, building the brokerage. Sister commits suicide shortly thereafter. I go on a 2-year bender with drugs and alcohol. And by 2017, everything that I had built was just a pile of ashes. Everything that I had built was a pile of ashes. So in 2017, I went through probably, what most people, it would really crush people. I went through all of it within a 6-month period. Within a 6-month period, it was long-term inpatient rehab, jail, divorce, homeless, second bankruptcy, car repossessed. That all happened within a 6-month period. And at that point, I had not been selling for a good 2 or 3 years. So my SOI was gone. So I had to start as a brand new agent. I sold 6 houses in 2018. That was my first year back to selling. So 2018, 6 houses, and now I'm selling, 72 houses is what I did this previous year. Um, and started my second team in 2020, and just bought a Remax franchise this past August.
Congrats, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we just brought on 3 agents last week. So we're rocking. We're up to 25 agents now, and we're making a sprint to 100 agents, pacing at about 5 agents a month. Pacing at about 5 agents a month. And that's the story, man.
No, I love it. I mean, I've heard it multiple times, and it hits me the same way every time. Just to hear, like, your success, and then the struggles to go back to success again, like you didn't give up. And it amazes me, man. I mean, I love your story, but when it comes down to it, what does it take to do that, Ben? We went through similar stuff. Like, you lost your sister. I lost my brother. Peter actually lost his mother as well. So we had lost someone, and you forgot the most important fact. We have Jersey guys sitting here, right?
That's right. I did forget about
But I mean, what does it take, though, Ben? I mean, I think that's what we want to talk about today. Is it's not all glamorous, right? And it's really, it's you can have your highs and your lows, but you got to keep bouncing back and doing that. Basically embracing the suck every day, and trying to build something when you can have it all and lose it all, but it's never too late to start again. So how did you do it, Ben? Like, it really, like, dive into just what you felt, what it was that drove you to actually build it back up.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm gonna answer that in a few different parts, if you will. I think the first thing that really I can attribute to, the comeback, the first time, the second time, was um taking responsibility for my own actions, right? I think what a lot of people will do is they'll say, okay, well, like back in 2007, when I saw, my peers and even people I looked up to going to sell furniture, cars, or whatever, I could have said, the market sucks, the market is doing this, the other people can't do it, so I can't do it. But it's all internal for me, right? And I think that's like a big piece of the puzzle, right? People ask me all the time, how's the market? And my response is always, it doesn't matter to me, really, right? Because I make my own market. I make my own market. And I'm not talking about a consumer saying, how's the market? I'm talking about a peer asking me, how are you going to still sell real estate in such a down market? Well, we do the same thing that we've always done. There's less buyers and sellers, but there's always going to be buyers and sellers. It's just more difficult to locate them and find them, right? So I think it's a matter of staying in your lane, keeping your head down, cutting out the noise is a big part of it. I haven't watched the news since I got sober 7 years ago. I just celebrated 7 years of sobriety. The news is noise. It's noise, negativity, right? So what I truly believe is that we have to think about our minds and our mindset, like our nutrition in our lives. What are we feeding our bodies as far as our nutritional diet, right? I think we also need to think about that. What content are we consuming? That's going to play a huge role in your mindset, and you have to be at the top of your game if you want to reinvent yourself, if you want to pivot with the external factors, right? Readjust the strategy. Now, I will say the principles are always going to be the same. When I went back to selling in 2018, I just went back to the same exact principles. They didn't change, but you still, that you do have to make slight adjustments to move with the market. You do have to make slight adjustments to move the market. So to answer your question, I think first, take responsibility for your actions. You messed up. So what? Tomorrow's a new day. That's the beautiful thing about this life that we have and that we were given. Like yesterday's yesterday. And that's I think the mindset that you have to have. You can't be like, to a certain degree, you can be somewhat future focused, right? But really so I love this analogy. Like a farmer, right? A farmer, they're planting their seeds, and depending on what it is, right? Those seedlings may not come up and start to sprout for like 2 months. So the farmer, he has to go out there every single day and tend to those crops, but he doesn't see a result. He doesn't see anything start to sprout for 2 months. So he's got to go out there every day and till it and worry about the insects and the water and everything else. But he has to have faith that if he does everything that he's supposed to do for those 2 months, he will yield a fruitful crop, right? So, and that's kind of what it is. Like, you can't expect to see the immediate results. I tell my agents all the time, the activities that you do today will dictate your income 90 days from now, right? So I think that's where a lot of agents kind of get stuck, is they're like, well, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to be doing for a whole week and it didn't work. So I'm going to bail on that execution plan. And when we just, and then it's just like, I'm also reminded of the story 3 Feet from Gold, right? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, that's it again. That's a good story.
So at 3 Feet from Gold, the guy, he's mining for gold for years, and he's not hitting it. He's going broke, and he's like, this, I'm going to do something else. So he sells it. He sells the land. And the new owner brings in an expert and finds out that where the guy was digging and mining, the gold vein was only 3 feet away from there. So it was one of the biggest like gold mines of all time, right? And the guy, he went on to be a successful guy, and he used that story to become really successful. But man, it's like, we feel like we're in the fire, and we're not getting anywhere, but I feel like that's when the biggest breakthroughs come, is when you feel like, man, like you're waking up and you're like, I'm on a hamster wheel. I'm not getting any further. I feel like that's when you're just knocking on the door, man. You're just like, you're knocking on the door, and it's like right around the corner, right? But I think people bail. They bail too soon before, So going back to your question, it's like really taking responsibility, leaving the past in the past, moving on, cutting out the noise, staying focused on your mission, your vision, and you have to, and that's the other thing, you have to have a strong mission and vision. Like, why are you doing this? For me, it's legacy. I want to leave something special for my daughter.
Mhm.
For me, it's also this story, because when I first got sober, I had probably 100 people tell me, you're a piece of shit. You're never going to go anywhere else in life, because of my 3 years of behavior while I was an addict. And
Mhm.
those people helped me more than the people probably that were supportive of me. When you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong, right? So that's it, man. You just got to stay like focused. Cut the noise. You keep clawing. I tell my wife, like, I'm just going to keep clawing and clawing and clawing. I don't care. I don't care.
It's that's really powerful. Ben, I was talking to somebody from my team the other day too, and they're going through some depression, and I was, looking at some stuff too, and I'm like trying to analyze why people get really depressed or get in this funk where they get in their own head. And I came across something, and it pretty much said, if you don't have a mission, it's easy for you to get depressed or kind of lose track of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So going back to that, like, I guess, how does somebody define what their true mission is if somebody's kind of lost? Because that's what I feel like a lot of times people that get in their own head just end up, I guess, being lost. They don't know what their purpose of life is or what their mission is. And I feel like if they really truly find what their true mission is and tie it to something greater than just money, it's gonna help them keep them in the right track. And I would imagine, I guess, maybe that you can relate to that or can give some advice on that.
Yeah, I can. I think a lot of it is figuring out who you are. And I think in the world that we live in, like people are just not in touch with who they really are as a person. They're not really getting to know themselves. Like it starts with like, what are your core values? And this will also help with selling, with persuasion, with influencing other people. Like, what are your real core values? Like, what's in your toolbox to get past the depression? What's in your toolbox to continue learning and growing? Like, for me, it's every morning, it's my gratitudes, it's the gym, it's what are my intentions for the day? It's how did I do yesterday? Did I do what I set out to do yesterday? When I'm in the car, it's audible. I'm listening to books, right? Instead of music. It's prayer. For me, my faith is very important to me. So, faith, meditation, just really like spending time with yourself. I think meditation is really, really powerful for spending time with yourself. But when you're trying to develop your mission and you don't know who you are and what you stand for as a person, it's going to be difficult to really develop that mission. But it's also, I think, can be found if they sit down with the right person who knows the right questions to ask them, and just
Nice.
keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. Because I ask people all the time, what, like when I hire a new agent, why are you here? Why are you here? What are you doing this for? And I find that I have to go like 7 to 12 levels deeper on the first answer that they gave me. And it may still take like another half hour of conversation to really get to the deep rooted why. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why do I need to be successful? Why do I want to be successful? Why do I need to sell 35 houses next year? I think, and then for us as team leads, if we don't have that really deep rooted why, it's going to be really difficult to coach people up.
So basically, just asking questions and just getting into it is really, I mean, I think I once heard, I think we all know the person that said this, if you keep asking questions and the person across of you hasn't cried yet, you probably haven't figured out their why yet, right? So that's really what it comes down to, because it's really deep within that pushes you forward. It's not surface level at all, but I also want to go back to you saying taking responsibility, because I like that, because I see it pop up all the time on social media and everything. And it's always people blaming other reasons for them not being successful today. Right. And you also said people also have that, fear, or they don't believe they can do it now in their market type deal if others are failing. Right. But I want to touch on that. So taking responsibility, what is it? I know I say you can control your controllables, and you really can't control your uncontrollables. So what is it that you control? Because you said there's a certain game plan you had. You went back to it even, after that crashed. What is it that you actually do on a daily basis, Ben?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to make this like the simplest answer of all time. And there's like quotes out there, but it's so true, right? And it might sound a little cliche. The only thing that you can control are your actions and your habits, your daily actions and your daily habits.
Yeah.
There's not a lot more that you can control.
But really, I mean, everybody wants that golden plan, like that blueprint to millionaireism, right? But the fact of the matter is, it comes down to just those things.
Yeah, it's so funny, dude. Like, all right, you want to be a successful agent. I'll give you the blueprint. Talk on the phone to 10 people a day. Send 20 personalized emails per day. Send 10 video text messages per day. Go out and comment on 10 people's Facebook per day. Give people video emails about neighborhoods and what the neighborhoods have to offer. Give people upcoming events. Give people buyer tips. Give people seller tips, ways that they can make more, prepare to sell their house and get more money for their house. And then ask for the appointment, and then go on the appointment. That's the game plan. And it's the same thing for us. Like, you want to recruit agents every day. You want to recruit agents? It's the same thing. Talk to 10 agents every day. Send out 20 personalized emails to agents per day. Like, make 5 Facebook posts that all provide value to agents, right? Like, we attract what we put out there. Right. So it's like we're marketers. Like, we pick this profession, and we act like we're not marketers, but we're marketers. Right. And on top of that, we're in the relationship business. So we market, meaning value, value, value. And then we call in relationship, and then appointments and closings. Like, it's just not that hard. Like, we have 3, as a real estate agent, we have three jobs. It's lead generate, lead convert, and service your clients. Lead generate, lead convert, and service your clients. Like, it's I don't know. I think we just all overcomplicate everything. It's so simple. It's so simple. We just, but it's like, oh, well, so and so is doing this, so I'm gonna try that. When in reality, like, dude, if you pick a path, and then you say, okay, this is how I'm going to lead generate, and I'm going to do it 3 to 5 different ways, and you become the absolute master of all masters, and you just master those 3 to 5 ways at lead generating. And then you say, okay, I'm just really going to hone in on the ability for dialogue and building relationships. And I'm going to study, listen to Audible, watch YouTube videos, and become a master at converting or persuasion or influencing or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to role play because Kobe was the best basketball player of all time, but he still practiced more than anyone when he was at the top of his game. So why are we not practicing, right? And then when I get to my appointments, I'm going to really study the craft and figure out all the nuances that I should know to really increase my conversion at an appointment. And then I'm going to practice it with my peers so that I can really reach the top elevation and so I'm a master at 3 to 5 different ways to generate leads. I'm a master at dialogue, influence, and persuasion. And then I'm a beast when I go to the appointment. Like, you're good. You're good after that, right? I don't know. What is it? But we all there's like a million. We're all going in a million different ways. When I think we should just be mastering and getting really, really good at a few different things here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people try so many different things, like you're saying, would try to find that one silver or golden nugget that will get them all the leads or all the closings. But the problem is most of them don't try one thing for a very long time to see what works before they try something else. It's like you're starting out 100 different things, but how can you measure what's working and what's not? There's no time and there's no way because most of them don't do it consistently enough, which is really important from what you're saying. Like the way that you broke it down just makes it so stupidly simple.
And you know why people give up, right? People give up and they're like, well, this is very uncomfortable. It's breaking my comfort zone. I tried it for a week. I didn't get the results. I can't continue to live in this really uncomfortable, position. But if they lived in that uncomfortable state and really just stayed in the moment and stopped attaching themselves to the outcome, I think that's probably part of the big problem. Like, they're attaching themselves to the outcome. Like, just have 10 great conversations with people every single day about buying or selling real estate. When you stop focusing on the appointment is when you actually start to get appointments.
They always have the intent of it, but I like the fact that you kind of say the same thing that we always talk about, is like planting seeds and being like that farmer. And you just got to do things just in faith that if you do it, right, and if you do it on a consistent basis and you do it well, you're going to have that harvest. But it's really about really having that faith, right? And what's going to drive that faith? It's going to be that specific why, deep inside, that's going to push you forward. But I love that story, Ben. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, when I say, and I don't mean like don't ask for the appointment. I mean don't be attached to the outcome. So like I saw Tariq El Moussa from HGTV. I saw him speak maybe last year, and he was telling me, or he was telling the audience, not me personally. We weren't sitting down and chatting, but he was telling the audience, listen, I was like, I was 20 years old. I was like living in my parents' garage. And what I did, every single day, I dialed the phone until 100 people told me no. That was it. That was the key to my success. I did that for a long time, and 100 no's. So he'd be like, well, I'd be calling people up until like 8:30 at night, and the last guy would curse me out, and but what he didn't realize is he just gave me my golden ticket to go home. Like, right? So like, there's a book called Go for No, which I really love. And that's how you disassociate yourself from the outcome. because you're counting your no's for the day. You're waking up and saying, okay, I'm going to dial until 10 people tell me no, or till 20 people tell me no. And then you're disassociating yourself to that outcome. And I think there's power in that.
It makes it easier. So you're striving for something else. It's like the total opposite of what you really want to happen. So you're going for the no. I'm very familiar with that, definitely. But I mean, I guess that's a way for you to overcome, at least making those phone calls, right? Because that is the essence. You just said basically, you just got to contact people, whatever form that you use. You got to contact people and don't be afraid of them saying no, because I know today could be a yes tomorrow. And you really don't know until you try.
Yeah, I think also another thing too that people don't realize is, number one, it's not going to happen overnight. We're in the delayed gratification business, but they got to understand that you're going to make mistakes. And then, did you get better from yesterday? Was there anything that you took away from yesterday, either on the phone, playing back the phone call, like you're saying, like Kobe was watching, or any high level athlete? They're all watched their game tape after they finished the game. What can they improve on? Did they improve from the prior week or the prior month? And that in itself is a win. And as long as they keep capitalizing on that, they're going to be successful. But most people they want to see the closing, and they don't realize sometimes that it may take you a month or two. Everybody has a different learning curve. Like nobody has the magic plan where it's like, hey, if you make 100 calls, you're going to make 12 closings this, in the next couple of months. Like sometimes it will take you 100 calls, 1,000 calls, or maybe 5,000 calls before you hit the level of success that you get. As long as you keep, improving on what it is that you need improvement on.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I mean, it's like mastering your craft. So if you only get that out of making dials, it's still something. It's still something. Like going back to my sobriety journey, like and overcoming, it was really just about like becoming the best version of myself, becoming 1% better than the person I was yesterday, not competing with anyone else in this world except for the person I was yesterday, and really working harder on myself than even I did in my career. And still to this day, I think it was Jim Rohn that said it: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Like, so true, so incredibly true.
I love that, because I like to live my life on that philosophy that I just want to be 1% better than yesterday. And I don't really ever compete with anyone else but my past version. And I think that's something that people really need to instill and really think about. It's not about what everybody else is doing. It's about what you're doing and how you're improving. And it's really, going back to, what you've done and focusing on it, not doing too much at one time. So you can understand, this change did this change did that. Now, how can I get myself better? And I think people forget that, even as good as you get, you still can get better. And I love the Kobe reference. I mean, the man used to win games and go back and practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like right after winning the game and everyone else was celebrating, there was something that needed improvement, right? And if you have that mentality, you'll be successful, no matter what.
You'd be unstoppable.
Yes.
Unstoppable. I mean, listen, so I'm divorced. I have shared time with my daughter. My daughter's 13. I sent her a text message last night. Every once in a while, like I try and I don't get to like mentor and coach her and like I want to, because we're not together all the time. But I sent her a text last night and I said, listen, I really want you to know you can have anything in your life if you just focus on these three things, right? And I go, number one, master self-discipline, like get out of your feels, right? If you don't feel like doing something, you get past it. Like learn it now while you're 13, right? Because we all don't feel like doing stuff. So get past your feels and just do it and make yourself do it. And you have like the advantage of being 13 right now. If you train yourself how to do that, be amazing. Number two, master human psychology. Figure out what makes people tick, what drives people. right? And number three, master your emotional intelligence. Like, stop being reactive. Like, stay grounded all the time as much as you can. Make being grounded your superpower. And I go, listen, master these three things and the world will be your oyster. You can have anything in life that you want. If you master these three things, I want you to start working on them now.
Love that. Why don't we start with that text?
I don't know. She was like, oh my God, you're so inspiring for me. And like that just like it's like teary eyed, right? Like, and that's again, that's my why. That's why I'm doing all like legacy. I want to sit down maybe maybe when she's getting married, right? I envision this like she's getting married. Let's just say we're at the rehearsal dinner and we're sitting next to each other and she looks at me and she says, Dad, like, I know that like you fell and I know like you battled addiction. I know you weren't a perfect person, but listen, like what you built, the amount of people that you helped with your business, and this thing that you've built, like I'm just so proud of what you've built to impact the lives of other people. Like I just want like that conversation is what because listen, like Peter, you were saying like earlier, you got an agent that's kind of like bouts of depression, feeling down. Like I'm definitely not going to claim that I don't have mornings or even weeks where I'm like, down, right? But I go back to my toolbox and like my gratitudes and my personal growth and reading and just thinking about different perspectives and all that stuff, right? So it's really important to have that toolbox for when you kind of slide, your mindset does slide.
Yeah. Just those whole podcasts, I would say most of it is mindset because we wanted to talk about this because we know real estate, or I think most businesses, is more than 80-90% mindset overall. And how important it is to protect your mindset and how important it is to keep developing and adding more tools in the toolbox, like you mentioned, for your mindset because it's not a matter of like, you had to do it and it's gone, like you overcame that mindset struggle. It's going to come again and again and again. And just like, you got to be prepared to handle it when it does come again. And this is why I think this is very important. And for those that have experienced it or haven't, this is really good for you guys to know how to deal with it, right? And I think it's very important to surround yourself with people like Ben in case you are struggling, you can reach out, rely on their past experiences to see what they've done to overcome these things. And I'm sure, Ben, you would be willing to take anyone to try to help and mentor them based on what you're saying so far.
Always, always, always. I mean, you guys are into AI, right? Can I share something that I do with AI that has been insanely helpful for me? So on my drive into work every morning, I do the phone and I open up chat and I have a morning mastery channel in my chat and I hit the record button and I talk to chat for probably about 5 to 7 minutes. I do the three things that I'm grateful for, and they're always new things. You can't do like the same things all the time. I always try and find something new. I do my intentions for the day. I do a few affirmations. I'll do like a powerful quote or a life lesson. And then I'll talk about like what will life look like when I actually accomplish all my goals. And then I'll recap my prior day and my wins because I definitely know like when you acknowledge even the smallest wins compound like compounding interest in your bank account, right? So just acknowledging every small win that you have is incredibly powerful. So in that channel, so I'll talk to it and I'll run through those things with it every single morning on the drive to work. And my initial prompt was like, you're the world's elite life coach, and I want you to be raw and real, and I want you to offer me different perspectives. I want you to challenge me, and I can get you guys the exact prompt, but I'm like, I don't want you to hold back any punches because I want to hear that that different perspective every single morning. I want you to challenge my, maybe my belief system for that day. If I'm struggling with something, I want you to challenge that struggle. So I do that, and I talk to it for 5 to 7 minutes every morning, and then it gives me my output, and then I do the read aloud, and then I have it read it back to me. It talks to me in the car, and I'll listen to it twice. And that's I've been doing that for 3 weeks on my morning drive to the office, and it's been incredibly powerful for me.
Holy crap! I've never thought of that usage. I mean, I'm gonna start doing that, and I think because it also goes back to you saying like using like every time that you have wisely. Not watching news. Like I usually I ride around in silence, but that's a great idea to do on the way in, especially. Um,
It's been
yeah,
amazing. It's been
yeah,
amazing for me.
yeah. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Good. Well, I mean, Ben. I mean, if anybody wanted to find you, needed some advice, or just seeking just a little guidance, so where are you located, and how can they find you?
Dude, honestly, like I got the websites and all the stuff, right? But if anybody wants inspiration, go to my personal Facebook page. Just search Ben Lang Realtor, Benjamin Lang Realtor. Like every single morning, I do a life lesson on my personal Facebook. It's basically my journal, and it's what's keeping me up at night. And then I write like the lesson around it, and the actionable steps to deal with it. And people have been really digging it. And I do it every single morning like clockwork. So I think people could really get a lot of value out of some of my or out of my Facebook posts. Like, just to give you an example, like some of my recent ones, like stop letting expectations steal your peace. That's a big one. Like, who you align with determines everything. The power of listening, and that's listening to yourself. The next level requires a new you, and that's about reinventing yourself, like I talked about earlier. So there's every single day, man, there's a life lesson in there. And sometimes they're pretty long, but they're good. I think they're good, man. And like I said, I'm writing about stuff that's keeping me up at night. So it's probably going to be relevant to most realtors.
And I also know, Ben, you have a podcast and you got a book out there. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about those?
Yeah, so we're doing Growth Obsessed podcast. I'm just launching it. Sharif is going to be my first guest, and so I'm super pumped because with that podcast, like I want to get like super like down and dirty, like really raw, like get past all the surface, just like go deep, right? And even and I don't even really want to talk about real estate. I want to talk about like the real life, the feelings, the emotions, the setbacks, the obstacles, all the stuff, and really have it kind of like a mindset focused. So check it out, Growth Obsessed. And then my book, It All Begins With You. I mean, it's about personal growth. It's about living your dreams, living a purpose-driven life. It's on Amazon, Audible, Kindle. You can find it all those places. It's a short read, guys, but it really will. At the end of each chapter, I put in questions, self-reflection questions. So as you're reading the stories and my story, and the analogies between living a purpose-driven life, and how to how to like find your why is it there. And then at the end of each chapter, I give you these self-reflection questions to really do some self-discovery within yourself.
That's awesome. And I know, Ben, you're in Michigan, right?
I'm in Metro Detroit, Michigan. Love referrals.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Ben, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your friendship and you jumping on to this podcast. And just like Sharif said, I've also learned a lot from you and the classes you've done on the listing domination, everything else, and especially your story, man, very inspiring. And I'm sure all the listeners will love to hear this podcast, and I'm sure they'll take away so many nuggets from it. And guys, if you have any questions for Ben, we'll put Ben's website over there. Definitely get his book. It's pretty inspiring. Listen to his podcast. And if you like this content, please subscribe and share. Would love to get this podcast in front of more people. And on to the next one, Ben. Again, we appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Love you guys, man. You guys are inspiration to me too.
Thanks, brother.
Well, man. Take care.